Good morning, everybody. Today on Todd's Pod, it's only going to be me. I don't have a guest. I wanted to talk to everybody about something that came to mind over the last, let's say, few months, I guess, really, because it's been on my mind for a while. And that is, where are you at in your recovery? I mean, we spend a lot of times in our lives taken away from everything. You know, we don't pay our taxes, whatever. All these things we take away from society, right? But where are we at in our recovery today? What I find is that, you know, there's a lot of people, like me, for instance, speaking, most of what I say will come from an I standpoint. I stay very active in my recovery. I know that if I go out and try to help somebody every day, I'll most likely stay sober, and I most likely won't use. Because I am an addict alcoholic, so it doesn't matter the flavor. I pretty much was on board. Now, I know that it's very important for me to stay sober. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there in the world that they get sober. They go to a meeting once a week, once every 2 weeks. They work hard. They pay their taxes. They're doing everything right. They're staying sober. But where are they at in their recovery, really? I mean, is it really a good recovery? Because if you spend so many years taking away, and don't get me wrong about all this, okay? Because I am not, I thought about getting on here and begging for funds for IHRP or this, that, because, you know, definitely we are struggling. We are having a problem. But it's been a problem for Opportunity Recovery Group. I've asked the recovery community to help us for I don't know how long. And there's a lot of people that do. And for those people that do, I thank you very much. But there are so many that don't. You know, they get sober, they go to a meeting, they're doing good with their family, they're raising everybody, but they're kind of white knuckling because their recovery is not as strong as maybe it could be. I'm not saying yours isn't strong, but for me, I don't think that would work. And I feel like that, you know, I have to put everything I have into recovery. And then if I put everything I got into my recovery, I mean everything, right? Everything else falls in place. You know, when I got sober and I decided to put everything in my recovery, because I had lost my wife, I had lost my family, my kids, everything. My life was totally destroyed when I decided to get sober. And, you know, so I didn't have any prospects of things. I didn't expect my family to welcome me back or even talk to me for that matter. You know, so I did my recovery me, and I poured everything I had into my recovery, and I still do to this day. But what happens as an after effect of that, my wife and I are still together. My kids and I have great relationships. I get to see my grandkids anytime I want to. And man, I'm blessed with 3 great grandkids. How many people can say that God's blessed them with 3 grandkids and you're still healthy? You know, God has, my God, I'll say my God, could be your higher power, whatever you want to call it, has blessed me tremendously. If you asked me in the beginning, where would I be? I would have never guessed that life would be as good as it could. I didn't believe the old timers when they said it just kept getting better. I just kept telling them they were full of crap, you know, but they didn't say crap. It was a different word. But anyway, so I just wonder, you know, how people get by on that, you know, because if you've taken away from society, like for me, I was out there about 42 years. Yes, I paid taxes here and there, and yes, I did all these things here and there. I even raised 3 kids, but was I truly being a productive, contributing member of society? And the answer is no. There's no way you can be. If you're in your dictionary out there, there's just no way that you can be a truly productive member of society. And as we get sober, and when we get sober, we realize that. Well, that being said, what are you doing in your recovery today to help your brothers or your sisters, whatever the case may be in recovery? Are you going to meetings on a regular basis? Are you sponsoring? All these things are great, right? But are you actually donating to the group that you go to your home group? Do you realize in San Antonio, I found that I think the number's around 240,000 people in recovery is what I've been told. And if that's the case, then that's a very powerful group of people. And I've asked San Antonio to help support good causes, things that are very important. San Antonio's lost 265 of its publicly funded beds. So me and some other folks are working really hard to try to bring some of those back. I've asked for help in the community. Is it there? Some people help, but not near enough. I mean, we're so far behind, it's not even funny. But I mean, you know, I still move forward. I trust my higher power has me. I know that he does. He didn't put me there to fail. But the thing is that the recovery community itself in a whole, I don't know how many of you out there that are watching can answer this question and say, yeah, that's me. And that is that you maybe go to meetings not as often as you probably would like to. You are doing fine by your family, your work, and everything's okay, but something seems to be missing. There's something missing. Well, maybe it's the fact that you're not all in on your recovery. By being all in on my recovery, like I said, all the things about my family returned. I still have a house, a nice car, all the things that we strive for and want that we lose a lot of times in our alcoholism and addiction, can come back to you. Now, I don't expect anybody to do what I do because nobody's me and I'm not you, and I don't know many people do more than I do. For sure, there's a ton of people out there that do more than I do, but there's also a ton of people out there that if they would take take 240, okay? If those 240,000 people all gave $1 to their home group or whatever, that would be $240,000 pumped into the recovery community in San Antonio. Imagine if they did 10 or 20 a month, right? That would be a powerful, powerful recovery community. Although we have a powerful recovery community, but it could be so much more, I've asked people to help me with my endeavors, and I'm not going to get into a lot of that because I'm not here about that. I'm here about everybody, y'all. I'm here for you and all those out there that might need to hear this little bit of a message that says, hey, it doesn't hurt to give a little. I know that people go to church and they pay tithe and all that, but I'm not talking about all that. I'm talking about to the recovery community, to your brothers and sisters who, I might add, at some point help pick you up out of a ditch or whatever, DWIs, out of jail, whatever the case might be. At some point, somebody helps you get sober, right? And you think, well, okay, so I'm going to go to meetings. I'm going to give $1 at every meeting, and that's my price for that. Or I'm going to sponsor people, and that's my price for that. Well, somebody has to buy those books that are in those groups. Somebody has to support those groups more than $1. It takes more than $1 because most groups aren't big enough if everybody gave $1 to keep the doors open. I know that Opportunity Recovery Group and ARP at Thousand Oaks and El Sendero, if everybody just gave $1 at every meeting, I don't think that would be enough to cover them. I'm sure it wouldn't be enough to cover all the bills, much less all the other stuff that we do. So that being said, I want everybody to spend the week or the day or the whatever, even just an hour, kind of meditate on that thought of what am I doing for my brothers and sisters in recovery? Am I really doing everything that I can? And I bet the answer is no. Okay. Now, I'm not judging anybody. I'm not trying to do that. What I'm saying is, if you ask yourself that question honestly, can you honestly say that you're doing everything you can to put back into that community that saved your life? Are you? And if the answer is no, then figure out how to do that. You don't have to say, okay, family, I'm going to have to go to 2 meetings every day, so I can't spend any time with my family anymore because I got to do this because I got to get back to the community. No, there's so many other ways that you can do that. Okay. There is donating whatever, clothes or to the homeless, helping people, going to a food thing. And when you help the homeless or you go to, say, a food bank to help serve meals to the homeless, take your family with you. Let your family see people that are in those positions and let them feel what it feels like to be able to help those people, because it feels really good. And I guarantee at the end of the day, if you reach inside of yourself and you truly give back to the community that saved your life, you'll feel good about it. And you will reap rewards. I guarantee it. It works every time. I've been sober about 8 years, almost 8 years, no fronts. I know it's coming up February 14th, Valentine's Day, no doubt. But anyway, my point is that I have never been let down. Yes, I see people come and go. And yes, I've tried to help people and they've gone back out and they've drank or drugged or whatever the case might be. So there are those kind of disappointments, but I know that I planted a seed and I tried to plant it as good that I could. And hopefully it works. And I've seen people come and go quite a few times before they finally get it. There's a few people that are very close friends of mine. I think we're beasts in the recovery world because that's what we do. And we live and breathe it. Okay. But I still have my family. I still do my family functions. It's not like I'm not taking away from my family, and my family can see me as a different person today than what I used to be. My family would rather have me no other way. They couldn't imagine me ever going back to what I was because they love what they see. You know, my wife gave me a compliment earlier this morning in a meeting that we were in, and you know, talking about how proud or how what she sees when she sees me. I'm not going to get into details of what she said, but it made me stop and think. I was like, wow, you know, that's a lot of trust. And that's a lot of things, you know, and that's what our family does. And that's a hard thing to get back. You know, how many times did we tell them, this is it, I'm done, I'm over all this, I'll never do it again? You know, I think it's when we finally get sober and we stop saying those words is when the family starts saying, what's up with that? He usually walks in the door and says, I'm not going to do it again, you know, but not this time. He just walks in and just living life, because we don't tell them, hey, I'm sober, you have to accept me for who I am, and you got to accept me for my recovery today. No, that's not how that works. It takes time. We have to devote time into our recovery so that our families can see that we are recovered and that we are not the same people that we were before. So we do that, and then we have to ensure for our families, for the generations to come, that we don't go back to what we were. Okay, I have suicide attempts in my past, and that was actually a few weeks before I got sober was the biggest one, and I was pretty successful. And they brought me back. They took me to a mental hospital, and I said everything. You know how it is. I said everything the right way so I could get out of there, just so I could finish what I started. And it was a couple weeks later, February 14th, that I got arrested. And that's when things changed. You know, I look at that day now as probably the best day of my life. But that's the day that I think that my education from my higher power ended. I think my higher power said, okay, Todd, now you've learned everything you need to know to be able to help as many people as possible in this community, in this recovery, in this world. Now it's time to go out and give back. I didn't know it in jail. And I didn't know it 6 months sober. I had a feeling that something was up. I had a feeling that life was changing. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what today was going to be. As soon as and I never imagined. I mean, here I am, 8 years sober, living a great life. I run an inpatient in-house recovery program that has 80 beds. And I'm humbled by that, because I can't imagine being that guy, right? And I don't think of myself as that guy. I'm just doing what the next thing in front of me says to do, and that is to do my recovery. And it seems as I do my recovery, and I'm still doing my family, but I devote a lot of my monetary funds, a lot of my extra funds. I devote a lot of my time to everything. And hold on just a minute, I gotta fill something went wrong there. Let's see what we got here. Sorry, guys. Okay. So anyway. Okay. Hang on one second. So I have nobody in here with me today. So I have to do the producer and all that kind of stuff myself. So I hope everything's coming out okay. You know, I totally lost my train of thought with where I was at, but where I am today, that's right, because I could have written down a million things. I would have never guessed. You know, I was, I guess, maybe 5-6 years sober when I got on the board of a recovery place. A recovery place is actually the name of it, and I was so proud of that. I didn't know what my higher power had planned. I didn't know what God had planned for me, but that to me was like the pinnacle. Well, let's backtrack. I got a good job at a place called Haven for Hope. I can say it now. And during that process, I learned so much about helping people, and they gave me so many trainings to teach me how to help other people, how to help bring people out of that place where they were at and help them get to a better place. For that, I'm eternally grateful. But during that process, I got a job on the jail outreach team. A man named Caleb was my manager, and he's also the man that talked to me about getting sober the first time. But the thing is that he had integrity about him. He had a way about him. And it wasn't that he was like standing up saying, hey, look at me, I'm this, I'm that. No, just the way he lived his life. He was a good model for me so that I could say, okay, that's what I want people to see when they see me. So I got the job at Jail Outreach, and I found myself helping people come out of jail and get into recovery. So I got to see them where I was at my worst, at my lowest point. And I got to see them come out of jail, connect, get into recovery, and blossom and get better. Some didn't make it the first time, second time, third time. Yeah, there was a few that went a few times. But ultimately, in the long run, most of them get it. And we have pretty good success rates in Jail Outreach. But that to me was the pinnacle. I would have told you that that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It was a very super fulfilling job. It's funny that all the jobs and all the things I've done since I got sober, I don't feel like I've ever really had a job because I really love what I do. So anyway, fast forward to when I became on the board of a recovery place. Instead of Jail Outreach being the pinnacle, I'm thinking, oh, this is the pinnacle of my recovery. And so here I was up on this mountain, and here I am. I'm on the board. I'm great. Everything's going great. And I'm thinking, okay, this is great. And so then after that, the podcast started a little bit. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's a little something that I like to do. And out of that blossomed a lot of things. Out of me being on the board at ARP is where Opportunity Recovery Group blossomed into becoming a nonprofit. It's 501c3 nonprofit itself. And when I did that, and we found a new meeting place, I got this new meeting place, and well, I didn't. The Recovery Community, ARP, Opportunity Recovery Group, there's some of us that really kind of put a lot into making this happen. So I got here, and I'm sitting in this right here in this little office, I'm thinking, man, this is great. This is the pinnacle, and so I'm thinking, great, I can't believe what God's done with my life. Look where I'm at, blah, blah, blah. And then things just keep happening. Well, it's funny because the other day, I had a guy come up to me on the street down by where IHRP is, because it's really close to where Haven for Hope is. And this guy, he actually works at Haven for Hope now, and he told me that I interviewed him in the jail, and that he got out of jail and he got a hold of recovery, and he thanked me. And I'm like, dude, and I tell everybody when they thank me for helping them, I'm like, no, go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and thank yourself, because without you being willing to make a change or willing to try it, man, nothing anybody in the world can do it. Every addict alcoholic knows. Until you're ready for that, there's nothing anybody can say or do. So I tell everybody, go to the mirror, thank yourself, congratulate yourself, because you're the one that made the decision. All I do is a bunch of pointing. Anyway, so I walked away from that conversation, and I'm, like I say, I run this in-house recovery program. I've done all these things, and it's all great and everything. But you know what? Hearing that man say that, and me thinking back to when I got him out of jail, and watching him change, and hearing how his family's doing, and him and his wife are together again, it reminds me so much of my story in the beginning. And literally when I got back to my office, I literally had tears, because that, my friend, is the pinnacle of my life. Not everything I've accomplished, not anything I've done. It's seeing people get better and seeing their families be healed. Because I'm telling you, if I would have been successful in my suicide attempt, I would have given generations in my family permission to do that. They'd be like, well, Papa did it, we can do it. And thank God that was not successful, because that would have been a crashing, thunderous storm for my entire family for generations to come. Who knows how long? But instead, what's happened is I got sober. I've changed my trajectory. I've changed the trajectory of my entire family. My children are all sober, and so their children will not have to grow up and see what my children saw, not have to grow up and live through what my children lived through. And so that's that generational change that we make. So when we make our changes, we're not just doing it for us. Yes, we do it for us, yes, but we're actually making changes that last generations. We're breaking those cycles of addiction. We're breaking those cycles of abuse. We're just amazing all the things that we are doing, and we're all doing it strong in our recovery. But I go back to what this was really supposed to be about. And that is that there is a commitment that you made in your mind, in your recovery, that you would do everything you could that you would go as far as you could and you would do everything possible to stay sober. You were willing to give it all to stay sober. So I'm not asking you to give it all, but I am asking you to think about, do you give enough to the recovery community? Do you support the recovery community enough that you can say, well, I'm helping them do this or I'm helping them do that? It's one thing to sponsor Bill, that's very important, but it's very important that you financially support recovery because it has, well, it financially supported you in the beginning. It gave you a big book. It did this or it did that. It took you to lunch. You know, somebody did. So are you doing that in your recovery? Can you do more? And that's the question at hand, right? I started this in-house recovery program. There were a lot of people that said they would do a lot of things. And there's a few people that did what they said they were going to do, but many people turned crickets. And it was disappointing, no doubt. But I already experienced that disappointment when I got the new meeting place. And I asked for all the support and I didn't get it when everybody said they would. You know, everybody says and wants to do things, but do they really do it is the question. So find where you want to support, be it a home group, or maybe you know about a group that needs help and help them because, you know, this IHRP thing that I've started, it may not make it because the San Antonio recovery community didn't step up like I felt that they would. So I am very disappointed in the San Antonio recovery community or even the recovery community as a whole. Not because nobody did anything for me. It's not about me. It's about you. And it's about your recovery. I'm disappointed that you would not give everything in your ability to stay sober. There's so much better things. And I guarantee if you go to your home group and you put $20 in that basket or whatever you do, I guarantee you'll see a return. It might just be drop that 20 in that basket. And then as you're walking out, some guy say, hey man, you know, I remember when I first got here, you were an encouragement to me. You helped me get sober. Boom, there it is. That's worth $20. That's worth 100. That's worth $1 million. You know, trust me, I know. That's what it's about, is that person that gets sober, changes their family, changes everything. They can be who you are. Who do you want them to be? What kind of an example do you want to be? I remember my sponsor, he never didn't donate. Took me to many lunches and dinners and took a lot of time and care. Put a lot into being my sponsor. And I never really thought about it till after the fact. So I'm going to close with this, guys. Just know I love you all. And I want everybody to make it. I don't want just us to make it. I want to keep reaching down in those ditches and getting as many people out of that addiction and alcoholism as I can do. And I will spend every moment of the entirety of my life moving forward doing that. I know that because I spent so many years taken away from society, taken away from everything. So I know that that's what my higher power wants me to do. You know, I devoted my whole retirement into this whole IHRP thing because I know I'm never going to retire. I'm always going to be doing what I'm doing. Always going to be trying to help people, always trying to lead people to sobriety. Not everybody has that luxury. Now my kids are all grown, so I have the luxury of not having to do that 9-to-5 grind really hard and you know, definitely 100% be dependent on that job to support my family. That wasn't my story really, but it is a lot of y'all's story, so I understand that. I don't expect anybody to do what I'm doing. I expect you to do what you can. And I guarantee you'll walk a little bit taller. You'll look a few more people straight in the eyes if you do what you know you should do. And with that, you guys have a great week. I'll get back on track probably next week. Sorry, I've been off track with the podcast lately. It's just a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stress. And you know, sometimes I do get a little stressed and get wrapped up. And then I realize that all that is lack of faith. You know, our higher power, God, whatever you choose to call him, I call it God, didn't put us here to fail. He put us here to succeed. And he put us here to spread that success to others and help them come out of those ditches and help them help their families. That's just how we do it. So you guys have a great week. God bless. I will see y'all next week. Thank you.